Sometimes, life has a way of putting the right souls in our path when we need them the most. This is the story of Jake, a man who had lost all hope until a stray dog named Rusty came along and changed everything. Jake Thompson had always been a man of ambition. He worked long hours at a high-stress corporate job in Chicago, chasing promotions, bonuses, and the so-called American dream. But after years of grinding, the pressure finally took its toll. His fiancée left, his friends drifted away, and he was left sitting alone in his tiny apartment, drowning in exhaustion and self-doubt. One rainy evening, after yet another grueling day at work, Jake found himself walking aimlessly through a quiet neighborhood, his mind clouded with thoughts of failure. That's when he saw him, a small scrappy dog, shivering under a bus stop bench. The pup was drenched, his ribs faintly visible beneath his matted fur, but his golden eyes still held a glimmer of something Jake had long since lost: hope. Jake hesitated, then crouched down. "Hey, buddy, you lost?" The dog wagged his tail weakly, but didn't move away. Jake sighed, pulling off his jacket. "All right, let's get you warm." Carrying the trembling pup home, Jake felt an odd sense of purpose, something he hadn't felt in years. He dried the dog off with an old towel, set out a bowl of water, and rummaged through his fridge for anything remotely dog-friendly. A few slices of turkey would have to do. The pup ate cautiously at first, his weary eyes never leaving Jake, as if trying to decide whether or not to trust him. By morning, Jake had made up his mind. If no one came looking for the pup, he'd keep him. Days turned into weeks, and before he knew it, Rusty, named for his reddish-brown fur, had become Jake's shadow, following him from room to room, curling up beside him on the couch and greeting him at the door with an excited bark every evening. But Rusty didn't just need Jake. Jake needed Rusty. For the first time in years, Jake had something to look forward to. The weight of work stress started to lessen as he spent his mornings jogging with Rusty, his nights playing fetch in the park. He laughed more. He felt lighter. Rusty had an uncanny way of knowing when Jake had a rough day, nudging his hand with his wet nose, reminding him that no matter what, he wasn't alone. One particularly bad evening, when everything at work seemed to be crumbling, Jake found himself staring at his reflection in the mirror. The man looking back at him was exhausted, defeated. But then, there was Rusty, sitting patiently by his feet, his tail thumping against the floor. Jake knelt beside him. "You don't care if I'm successful or not, do you?" Rusty licked his face in response. That was the moment everything changed. Jake started reevaluating his life. He quit his toxic job and took a risk, pursuing his real passion, opening a small outdoor cafe where people could bring their dogs. It was a gamble, but with Rusty by his side, he felt unstoppable. The transition wasn't easy. There were long nights spent planning, filling out paperwork, and scraping together his savings. He doubted himself countless times. But every time he felt overwhelmed, Rusty was there, his comforting presence reminding Jake of why he had started this journey. Months later, on opening day, as customers filled the cafe, sipping coffee and laughing while their dogs played nearby, Jake looked down at Rusty, who sat proudly by his feet. The cafe had a special section with plush dog beds, homemade dog treats, and even a framed picture of Rusty at the entrance with a sign that read, "Inspired by a stray who saved a man." People came from all over, not just for the coffee, but to meet the dog behind the story. Rusty had become a local legend, his journey from a stray to a hero touching the hearts of many. One afternoon, an older woman sat down with Jake, a leash wrapped loosely around her wrist. Her elderly Labrador rested at her feet. "You know," she said, stirring her coffee, "I lost my husband last year. Thought I'd never feel okay again. But then I got Lucy here." She reached down to scratch her dog's ears. "She saved me in ways I can't explain." Jake nodded. glancing at Rusty. "Yeah," he said with a small smile. "I know exactly what you mean." As the cafe thrived, so did Jake. He wasn't just working to survive anymore. He was living. And every night as he locked up the cafe, Rusty trotted beside him, tail wagging, as if knowing that he had fulfilled his purpose. Years later, Rusty grew older. His once boundless energy slowed. His naps grew longer, and gray fur peppered his muzzle. But his spirit remained unbreakable. Even when he couldn't run like he used to, he would still sit by Jake's side, watching customers enjoy the cafe, as if making sure everything was as it should be. One peaceful evening, Rusty curled up beside Jake on the cafe porch, letting out a soft sigh as Jake stroked his fur. "You changed my life. You know that?" Jake whispered. Rusty's tail thumped gently in response, and when Rusty finally passed, in the same home he had wandered into years before, Jake knew one thing for certain. Rusty hadn't just been a dog. He had been his best friend, his guiding light, and the reason he had found himself again. In the cafe, Jake placed a plaque on the wall. It read, "For Rusty, the stray who saved me." Sometimes the ones we save end up saving us, and sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected places.